Oh man, oh man. People talking crazy recently, man. People talking stupid. People talking wild and reckless out here right now. And I gotta say, we gotta talk about it because I don't know what's going through the mind of some of these dudes. KD is the one I'm specifically talking about. Y'all see the thumbnail, y'all see the title of the episode. I gotta talk about what Kevin Durant's been going on. A lot of people have been asking me to get to it on Twitter and get to more basketball oriented topics because I know we've been talking about a lot of other things because basketball right now is in the off season. It's a little dead right now, but you know, you can always rely on old reliable KD to say something goofy, to bring up conversations that nobody was even talking about for real. And clearly you could just see somebody's insecurities in the way they handle things all the time that you know you may not even see as a big deal, but they constantly have it on their mind. And let's just get right into it. Let's talk about KD because KD just he don't know when to quit. He don't know when to let shit go and when to drop things. Um and it's time for us to really get into it. Let's talk about Kevin Durant. So KD had a quote recently where he was talking about the Sixers getting LeBron James. And I thought it was really interesting to hear his perspective because I think whenever you hear KD talk about these things, it's obvious that it still eats him up. The fact that a lot of people discredit his championships and a lot of people look at his accomplishments in Golden State as kind of like an asterisk thing. And let's pull it up here. Let's see what KD had to say. Let me zoom in a little bit. Let's see what KD had to say.
Feel like they're contenders? For sure.
Hold on. Let me actually make sure you guys can hear me. Hear the audio. I should be able to hear it, right?
You don't think so? No, I'm just asking you. Last time they put three 20-point scores on the team, they said it was unfair.
Okay.
I feel like they're
Okay, y'all should be able to hear it. If y'all can't hear it, let me know in the chat.
feel like they're contenders? For sure. You don't think so? No, I'm just asking you. Last time they put three 20-point scores on the team, they said it was unfair, which is the team I was in. Yeah. They got four 25-point scores on this team. So hell yeah, I think they're gonna be a contender, man. They're gonna be a great team to watch.
You know, the funny thing about that is one, KD, that's not true. The last time we saw three 20-point per game scores come together was in Phoenix when Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker came together. It wasn't just 20-point per game scores. It was 25 plus point per game scores. Bradley Beal had finished up a season, I believe the year prior, or maybe 2 years prior, where he was averaging 30 points per game. Someone said the audio was low. I don't know why it was. That's on me. But Bradley Beal had seasons in Washington where he averaged 30 points per game. 30 points per game. Then you add on to that Devin Booker had just came off of back-to-back, I believe, top 2 to 3 seeded Phoenix Suns teams where he averaged 25 plus points per game. All NBA player. And you have averaging 25 plus points per game pretty much your whole entire career, which includes the years prior where you spent in Brooklyn with Kyrie and James Harden, which is also the last time that we saw another 25, which is also the last time that we saw three 20-point per game scores come together. You didn't just do it in Golden State. You did it in the next two spots that you went to. And the ironic thing about that is, yes, in Brooklyn, I think a lot of people kind of had a sky is falling kind of thing when all three of those guys came together. But the reaction to when you went to Brooklyn, and especially when you went to Phoenix, was nowhere near the reaction that you got when you went to Golden State. Because I think a lot of people had their reservations, especially about Phoenix, way more than they had when you went to Golden State. Because not only were both of those teams, Brooklyn and Phoenix, before you got there, not the juggernaut that Golden State was, but there were obvious holes and needs that those teams had that you clearly we're not going to just fix by throwing 3 20-point per game scores together, especially when they don't complement each other in the areas that they needed to in order for that team to work with the lack of depth on that roster. So it blows my mind that KD just overlooked that. But I'll be honest, there's nothing really crazy about that quote other than the fact that he just clearly forgot parts of his career and tried to gloss over that shit. But the real quotes that people are really up in arms with KD about is what we're going to get into next, because he didn't just stop there. I guess he went on Instagram or some shit. I don't know where he went to talk about it, but he went on some social media platform. It wasn't Twitter, because you know Twitter going to hold him accountable, actually, which is why he don't go on there no more. But here it is right here. Kevin Durant says that the 2026 27 76ers are better on paper than the 2016-17 Warriors, and it ain't close. Here's the exact quote. Joel, MVP race recently. Nigga, are you talking about a couple years ago before his knee got fucked up? Huh, interesting. Jaylen Brown, recent finals MVP. Tyrese Maxey, all-star the last 3 years. We all know what Brown does. Klay Thompson, never an MVP candidate in nothing. 22 points per game. Wow. Wow, talk about just diminishing what Klay Thompson did for them. Draymond, 14 points per game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Steph, an MVP just like Joel was. I don't get how the Warriors team is better on paper. Wow. Just wow. Talk about downplaying your teammates for the sake of trying to uplift your own legacy and the things that you accomplished. I think that quote says a lot about how KD looks at the game and why his career has gone the way that it's gone over the last 10 or so years. For him to, let's start off with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, yes, he is an MVP just like Steph was, but let's even break down the factual part of that. One, Joel Embiid was not a back-to-back MVP. He was not the first ever unanimous MVP. Let's get that out the way. And two, the more obvious point, he ain't as good as Steph Curry ever was in his prime, especially now. Joel Embiid over the last 3 seasons has been struggling with playing 60 games. Hell, he's been struggling to play 50 games. So I don't know where KD's coming from with this whole just because Joel Embiid's an MVP, now he's comparable to 2016 Steph Curry, one of the greatest MVP seasons that we've ever seen. And then you talk about Jaylen Brown being a finals MVP. Jaylen Brown, yes, he was a finals MVP, but he's one of the weaker finals MVPs over the last handful of seasons. And hell, can't we use that same argument for the Golden State Warriors with the bench player, Andre Iguodala? Wasn't he a finals MVP? We could go there. We could go there, KD. And then you want to talk about diminishing Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, let's get something straight. Klay Thompson looked you and Russell Westbrook in the eye and helped the Golden State Warriors send your ass home after you blew a 3-1 lead to him. He looked y'all niggas in the eye and did that shit. And to diminish him by saying he ain't no MVP caliber player, sure, individually as a talent, he may not be as good as a Jaylen Brown. He may not be as good as a Tyrese Maxey. But you want to know one thing about him that's better for the Golden State Warriors as compared to guys like Maxey and Jaylen Brown and how they fit alongside LeBron and Joel Embiid? It's the fact that Klay Thompson, he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective. This is the same Klay Thompson that scored 60 points on like 9 dribbles. I am so like, I don't want to say shocked because this is just how he looks at the game. And we'll get into that later because Draymond threw some comments. Klay had some comments about this take. And I'm just so like, I don't even have the right wording. But KD, this is ridiculous what you're doing here. It's ridiculous. You're overlooking fit. And then that even brings me to the Draymond portion of this quote. He said Draymond, 14 points per game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He just looking at points, rebounds, assists. He didn't even say the full box score. He didn't even bring up steals. He didn't even bring up blocks. He just said 14, 6, and 7, whatever the fuck. That's all Draymond is, a 14, 6, and 7 guy? Nigga, those are Nicholas Batum numbers in his prime. You telling me you gonna just reduce him to Nick Batum's stat line? Hell no. Draymond, If anybody should know Draymond's impact going beyond the box score, it should be you. It should be you. You played with the nigga. Draymond ain't just some points, rebounds, assist guy. He, at the time that you joined the team, was arguably the best defender in the NBA. Hell, if I'm not mistaken, the year that you joined in 2017, he won Defensive Player of the Year. And on top of that, even his offensive impact, it ain't just about assists. It's the way he's setting all of you guys up with the spacing that y'all have around him. Running the short roll game. DHOs. Setting screens for y'all. And on top of that, he lets you just block shots defensively. That's how good he was on the perimeter. That's how good of a switch defender he was. How well he defended the pick and roll and defended the rim as a weak side guy. He's arguably the best help defender of all time. He's in that conversation. He's one of the greatest defenders ever. And to just diminish him by looking at his points, rebounds, and assists, what are we talking about here? That's very insane. That's so disingenuous for KD to do something like that. And there's a reason why he ain't come to Twitter with this bullshit. Because every time he come to Twitter, he get cooked, especially as of late with some of those investments that he's doing overseas. But we ain't going to talk about that. We ain't going to talk about that. I'm actually disappointed that KD just reduced his teammates like that. And then on top of that, KD, something that I think you're even not giving yourself enough credit for is the fact that you, at the time that you joined the Warriors, are better than LeBron is right now. Why are you overlooking the fact that you were an MVP candidate? You were an MVP level player. You were a top 3 player in the league. LeBron right now ain't no top 3 anything. And that's not to discredit LeBron. That's just the fact of the matter. LeBron has not been anywhere near his prime peak level for like the last handful of seasons now. He barely averaged 20 points per game last year. He's coming off of a series in the playoffs where he just got swept. And on top of that, he's 41. I don't know where KD's coming from with this idea. Like, even when he says this shit, he's almost even diminishing how good he was and how good he elevated that Golden State Warriors team. And then let's even throw some more heat on the fire, because I seen a post from Bleacher Report that made a really good point. Let me pull that shit up. Because we going to expose some shit today. I can't believe KD even went that far to try to diminish how good he was and how well he added to the team. Here it is right here, y'all. This is just the facts. Look at this team. KD, before he joined Golden State, 73-9, most wins in NBA history. They literally just broke the record. Had the greatest regular season that we've ever seen any NBA team have. They lost in the finals. They had the unanimous MVP, the coach of the year. That's another thing. You telling me Nick Nurse is comparable to Steve Kerr? He didn't even bring up coaching because KD don't go with that in depth when it comes to his analysis of the game, clearly. 3 All-Stars and All-NBA players, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. As compared to Philly before LeBron joined, 43-37. Lost in the second round, getting swept. 1 All-Star and All-NBA player in Tyrese Maxey, and an All-Rookie first-team player in VJ Edgecombe. I don't know where KD's coming from with this bullshit, y'all. I don't know where the fuck he thought this shit made sense. Like, the way he's just looking at the game is so surface level, all because he wants to defend his own insecurities. Nobody brought up the Golden State Warriors and how you left to go join. It's been a while since that conversation didn't even come up, because let's be real, a lot of motherfuckers been pitying you over the last couple of years because you ain't been able to get the job done in Brooklyn, you ain't been able to get the job done in Phoenix, and you ain't been able to get the job done in Houston, and you damn sure ain't gonna do it going forward. Not as the best player. You ain't that level no more. And you brought that shit to IG and Threads because you know you can't get that shit off on Twitter. That shit is crazy to me. That shit is insane. But to add insult to injury, his teammates spoke up, and I'm glad they did. They called that bullshit out. Let's go to it. Klay Thompson talking about some, hey man, you good? What you using my full government name for? After KD said that he was never an MVP candidate and nothing. Because it ain't just the fact that KD's like saying that Klay is not an MVP candidate, but the tone in which he said it. Never an MVP candidate and nothing? Come on now. How you gonna do some shit like that? That's crazy work. He knows what he's doing and how that looks to just downplay Klay like that. And yeah, Klay wasn't an MVP candidate, but do you got to be an MVP candidate to have an elite impact on a team? No, you don't have to be. Klay is arguably the best 3-and-D wing in NBA history. He's in that convo. He's one of the greatest shooters of all time. He went out there and guarded the Damian Lillards, guarded the James Hardens. It wasn't you, KD. And even behind Klay, you have Andre Iguodala there, the Finals MVP, right? Since we calling Jaylen Brown a Finals MVP, why are you leaving out the fact that Iggy was a Finals MVP? Since we playing that dumbass game. That shit is crazy. That shit is crazy to me. But there's more, because Draymond also went in on that nigga. And I think this is going to really show and prove kind of what I'm saying, because Draymond has a very similar perspective on how he looks at how KD looks at the game.
Everyone's making a big deal out of KD's comments on LeBron joining the Sixers. KD said the last time they put 3 20-point scorers on the team, they said it was unfair, which was the Warriors team I was on. The Sixers got 4 25-point scorers on this team, so hell yeah, I think they're going to be a contender. Number one, I think that's KD giving them their respect. Y'all make it as if KD was saying, oh man, LeBron did the same thing KD did. When people try to negatively throw out there like, oh, he did what KD did, I don't really respect that. I think to understand this statement, though, you also have to understand the way KD view basketball. The way KD view basketball is very Uncle Drewish. This game will and always will be about buckets. That's how KD view the game. So when KD say, yo, they got 4 25-point scorers, you have to understand in KD mind what that means. That is how KD see the game. So he's going to mention to 25-point scorers. He also said that the Sixers are better on paper than the Warriors were in 2016-17. I don't know that I can agree with that. I don't really think it works, but that's KD's opinion.
I'm glad Draymond said that. I'm so glad he said that shit. Because it's clear that KD don't view the game any more than just a bucket. All these ball don't stop niggas, game about a bucket, bag Twitter niggas, that's Kevin Durant. That's how he look at the game. That's why KD can look at a team and say, hey, we can rely on Nick Claxton at the 5 and Blake Griffin as our role player and Mike James and all these other throwaway dudes that we could just put on our bench and shit to fill out me, Kyrie, and James Harden. Because fuck it. The game about a bucket, right? We seen how that played out. Hell, who cares if Joseph Nurkic starting at the 5? Who cares if we got all that CP3 who can barely move starting at point guard? We got 3 20-point per game scores. Me, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. Scary hours, right? That's how he look at this shit. He only look at this shit from a bucket perspective. And sure, the game is about a bucket, but it's about more too. It's about if you can get stops. It's about if you can space the floor. It's about if your rotation can fill out next to your star players, the coaching schemes around them, matchups, staying healthy, but you ain't been able to do either. And that's why every time you go up in the playoffs with these recent teams, when you got to go out there with Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith, Nurkic at your 5, whose fault is that? It's yours. Because the way you look at the game is very simple-minded. And that's why you're going on all these other platforms besides the one platform that's going to hold you accountable about how the game really works. And I'm not saying KD don't know basketball, but the way he talking in this shit, you would think he don't. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me that KD would even go that far and say some dumbass shit like that. I'm be honest with y'all. That's wild. But hey, that's Kevin Durant for you, right? That's Kevin Durant. What we got next here? I'm gonna give a little. We're gonna have a little sidebar comment. I don't know if y'all seen that shit. Seen that shit. Angel Reese was talking about some Barbie shit. That shit had me crying. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but that shit was hilarious. She got community noted to hell. And I really couldn't even believe this shit is true, that she said that. I was stunned that she said that shit.
Honestly, I didn't have a lot of dolls because I didn't have dolls that really looked like me much. And that's why I kind of really wanted to make sure this was super intentional because now that they have a doll that looks like you and nails and hair, but also you can be a killer on the court as well. So that was something that was important for me when getting the doll.
Angel, come on now. They fact checked the shit out of her. They said Barbies that looked like her have existed since the 1960s, with the first one actually named Barbie released in 1980. Angel was born in 2002. Oh my God. That's the one thing about Elon Twitter that I'll give him credit for. That nigga threw them community notes in there to fact check shit immediately. Oh my God. Angel, come on, man. They've definitely had some black Barbie dolls. What the fuck you talking about? Said Barbies that look like her. Maybe she talking about her specific look. I don't know. But Angel, come on now. You don't gotta lie. You don't gotta lie. And I understand representation matters. Trying to be able to see yourself in the people that you see on TV that's pushed in society. I get that. I'm with all of that. But Angel, you ain't gotta lie for us to get that point across. You had your Barbie night. You brought your little... I won't even get in there. I won't even get there. I won't go there. If y'all follow my Twitter, you know where I was going to go with that, but I won't go there. I won't go there. But that was funny. That was funny, Angel. But let's move on to the next topic I got. We're going to talk about player's choice and some of the quotes and takes I've been seeing on there because, you know, for those who don't know, I've been on player's choice a good amount of times and I fuck with player's choice. I don't got no beef with player's choice. I don't got no issue with player's choice. But some shit I seen recently with Chilltown, I don't know what Chill's talking about lately, man. Chill just been...
You think Kawhi Leonard was a...
Shit, my bad. Y'all might have heard that. But Chill just been tweaking lately, bro.
Is Jason Kidd a better offensive...
Shit. Chill just been tweaking lately, but give me a second. I'm trying to pull shit up.
Is Jason...
I'm trying to get all these clips ready so that way... Shit, real talk. But yeah, let's talk about some of these players' choice takes because, you know, Chilltown is my dog, but what the fuck has he been going off about, bruh? Chill been saying some goofy shit. He been saying some goofy shit, but let's pull that shit up though. Chill, you my dog though, but you know, we hold people accountable over here. If we're gonna hold KD accountable, we're gonna hold you accountable too. The buck don't stop with KD.
You think Kawhi Leonard was the 2016 MVP?
I would have voted for him, yes. Not.
Chill. What you talking about, man? You would have voted for him? Just say you think he was the MVP. You don't got to just drag that shit out. And I guess he's going to give his reasoning, but that was insane.
Not because Steph Curry shouldn't have been the unanimous league MVP, but because Kawhi Leonard was on a 67-win team.
Nigga, the Warriors won 73 games. The fuck are you talking about, Chill? Nigga started off with, he said that's number one. He started off with 67 wins, which is inferior to the nigga that won the MVP. What? Nigga, what?
That's number one. Kawhi Leonard was arguably, in 2016, the best defensive player in the game, while averaging over 20 a game. And please let me not forget to mention, they won 67 games.
The Warriors won 73.
Thank you, Swipe. Nigga, what the fuck? Hey, look at Chill face. Nigga stunned as shit. Oh my God, chill. You my dog, but what? What the fuck is he on? Oh my God, that was insane. That was insane. And you know, let's pull up, because you know, not everything just about numbers, but niggas said Kawhi averaged 20 points per game. Like Steph ain't go out there and put up some crazy ass numbers. Oh my God. Oh my God, that was insane. Let's pull up some of these numbers too, bruh. Cause we cooking niggas today with some of this shit. I ain't even gonna let that shit slide. I ain't letting that shit slide, yo. Nigga, Kawhi Leonard averaged 20 points per game, yes, and he did it on amazing efficiency. Kawhi was worthy of being, I guess, the second place runner-up to the MVP. That's fine. Nigga averaged 21, 7, and 3, 2 steals, a block, 50, 44, 87 shooting splits. Golf claps. Golf clap. Great season. Nigga, Steph Curry averaged 30, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, led the league in steals on 50, 45, 91 shooting from the field. Excuse me, from the free throw line. Nigga, if you go to his true shooting, I believe he led the league. Yes, he led the league as a guard in true shooting percentage at 67%. The fuck are you talking about, my nigga? And you know the wild thing? He said, we already covered the fact that he had that dumbass take talking about some Kawhi led them to 67 wins. Steph Curry led them to 73. And I'm glad the reel and the short ended right as soon as he said that shit. Swiper was like, nigga, the Warriors won 73 games. So that argument is null and void. Like, do you think winning 67 is more impressive, or are you just lowering the standards because deep down you know Kawhi wasn't a better player? Because it's got to be one or the other. It's still stupid regardless. I'm just... That was an insanely bad take. And then you talk about him being arguably the best defender in basketball. Nigga, it's arguable because Draymond was right there anchoring one of the best defenses in the league. But you know what's not arguable? Steph Curry being the best offensive player in the league. That wasn't arguable at all. We all knew who the best offensive player in the league was. Leading them to a historic offense, by the way. I think that's an insane take. That is a horrendous take. That's a bad opinion to have. And mind you, he didn't even say he had a better season. He just said, I would have voted for him. So it sounds like you just didn't think Steph should have been unanimous. That's really what it gives off. Oh, that was a horrendous take. But I actually want to keep going because chill, he ain't stopped there. He on a run with bad takes. Let's see this one, y'all.
Is Jason Kidd a better offensive player than Allen Iverson?
Yes.
This nigga said Jason Kidd is a better offensive player than Allen Iverson. Wow. Let's keep going. Yeah, real talk. That was my exact reaction. Just, the fuck is this nigga talking about?
Allen Iverson definitely a better bucket getter than Jason Kidd, but overall offensive player, I think Jason Kidd is better than him.
Jason Kidd, a nigga that can't get a bucket.
I'm saying, nigga couldn't score. Oh my God. Ah! Jesus Christ.
Better than Allen Iverson. Cool.
And you know the wild thing is, I know some people might hear what Real Talk said and say he didn't say Jason Kidd was a better player. Nigga, you actually are saying he's a better player by default when you say he's a better offensive player. Allen Iverson's calling card was his offense because it certainly wasn't his defense. And Jason Kidd is one of the greatest defenders of all time at the guard position. So you're basically saying Jason Kidd clears Allen Iverson. Because at bare minimum, I could maybe say you're saying he's just barely better as an offensive player. But he clears defensively. And I would hope you think that. Because, I mean, that's just backwards logic if you don't think that. And then you say, oh my God. Nigga, I don't even want to pull up the numbers because it's just obvious to anyone who's watched basketball. And I'm not saying Chill don't watch basketball. But what are we talking about here? And it ain't like they played in different eras. That's the wild thing. They played in the same era, essentially. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Jason Kidd, these are his numbers. These are his numbers. And look, I'm not saying Jason Kidd's a bad offensive player. I'm not saying he was trash. Now, I've had some takes about Jason Kidd and how I think he's overrated, which I still do think to a degree he is, especially when you got niggas going out there like Chilltown talking about he's a better offensive player than one of the greatest scorers to ever play the game in Allen Iverson. But Jason Kidd is a guy that throughout his whole career was flirting with shooting below 40% from the field. There are some seasons 38%, 39%, 40%. This nigga was struggling to shoot 42% from the field. This nigga was called Ace and Kid because he had no J. Struggling to make layups. And sure, great passer, elite playmaker, great in transition, elevated offense to great heights. But if we're really being honest, nigga, there was much he left on the table as an offensive player. That nigga couldn't score. And say what you want about Iverson's inefficiencies and how he's got a career 42% shooting from the field percentage. Nigga, Jason Kidd is at 40 on 12 points per game. What the fuck? Allen Iverson led the league in scoring on 4 different occasions, one occasion in back-to-back seasons. What the hell are we talking about here? And yes, offense is not just about scoring, but it ain't like AI wasn't a great playmaker in his own right, going out there having to play with motherfuckers like Eric Snow and Dikembe Mutombo. What the fuck is he talking about? And Iverson could play off the ball. You could use him in a multitude of different ways as a scorer. Not a great three-point shooter, inconsistent jump shooter, yes, but got to the rim better than Jason Kidd, scored better than Jason Kidd, more efficient than Jason Kidd, and that says a lot because Allen Iverson, he wasn't known for his efficiency, but Jason Kidd was just that inefficient for a nigga who still couldn't score that much anyway. So I don't see the argument here. That is nasty. That is nasty as fuck. I don't know where the fuck Chilltown got that take from. Maybe he was just trying to stir up some content, but nigga, that's gross. Nigga, that is gross. Oh my God, that's nasty. That's nasty as fuck. But I guess it just don't stop there because I guess Chill wanted to keep cooking him on the Jason Kidd shit. And hey, I'm with you there, not Chill. I'm with you there, Real Talk. Real Talk wanted to cook him. So we'll see what he said. This is the final clip we're going to play.
Every time we talk about offense and these players that you don't like, you try to devalue scoring, but I'm not going to let you do it today, young man.
That's not
I'm
true.
not going to let you.
Young man is crazy when that nigga twice your age, Real Talk. Ron pointed. Young man is wild.
Do it today, OG.
Not true.
We're not going to devalue scoring to the point to where
that's not true,
nigga
Real Talk. And the reason why that's not
13
true is
points on sub 40% from the field is a better offensive player than a nigga averaging 30 or 45.
That's a fact. Nigga, it's like, and I just went over it, but how can you sit there and say some shit like that? That's like saying Rondo in his peak was a better scorer than like, or a better offensive player than, give me an inefficient, I don't know, Russell Westbrook. Because, hey, man, he wasn't. Actually, there is no argument. There's no argument there. Why? Because he's averaging so many assists. And maybe that's not the perfect comp because I guess Westbrook, he was leading the league in assists at points of his career. But it's just, it's so fucking gross. It's so fucking nasty. But keep going. Keep cooking this nigga. Real talk.
Real talk. While also averaging 10 plus assists, so we're not going to act like Russell Westbrook.
Oh, he ain't even talking. He said he's a better offensive player than Russell Westbrook? Oh my God. No way. No way. Oh my God. Nigga, he said Jason Kidd a better offensive player than Russ? Wow. Wow. So it ain't even just like a shot chucker thing with AI. Well, I guess it is, but it's there is no argument. Wow.
Either, while also being a great transition player, just like Kidd, so you can't bring up transition like you like to bring up.
A fact. Because I even gave Jason Kidd that props. I said, hey, he was an elite transition player, but that ain't enough to say he a better scorer than Allen Iverson. And now you going to say he's a better or offensive player, but now you're going to say he's a better offensive player than Russell Westbrook? Wow. I got to hear his reasoning for that.
As usual, as well. So you need to explain to me how the nigga that's averaging 13 and a half points shoots up 40% from the goddamn field.
Real talk angry as fuck. And I feel you. I'm with you, my nigga. Because that's insane.
Is a better offensive player than Russell Westbrook. The reason why he's a better offensive player is because I get my guys involved way more than you do. You shoot your team out of games.
Nigga, Jason Kidd don't shoot at all. He can't shoot. Say what you want about Russ, but Russ at one point in his career had a midi on his game. Jason Kidd ain't. Russ is a better shooter and scorer. Nobody guard either of them niggas in their prime.
Don't shoot my team out of games. In fact, I get my team involved in.
Nigga, Jason Kidd ain't shoot teams out of games. He was called Ace Kidd for a reason. I'm so glad Mars got this reaction because that's insane. Jason Kidd shot teams out of games. He shot his teams out of games because he couldn't shoot. He was left open. What the fuck is he? What?
I can't believe you guys. You know what? Mars, you going to sit there and say, did he shoot this guys out of games? His career high is 15 shots a game.
And he couldn't make at least 7 of them. The nigga. Oh. Let's even pull that up. I'm glad we got it pulled up right here. Jason Kidd is career high in field goals attempted. 16 a game. 15 a game second. Nigga, in those seasons, 38% from the field. That ain't shooting your team out of the game? 41% from the field. That ain't shooting your team out of the game? I mean, if let's pull up Russ. Let's actually pull up his least efficient season other than his rookie year, right? Because I assume he ain't going there. Russ's least efficient season, I mean, that's his second season. 2017, the year he won the MVP. This ain't his most inefficient, but field goal percent. Let's just use that for the sake of argument. So Jason Kidd ain't shooting his team out of games, shooting 41% from the field or 38% from the field while only giving you around 16 to 19 points. But Russell Westbrook is shooting his team out of games, averaging 32 points per game on 42% from the field. A higher field goal percentage than Jason Kidd had pretty much throughout his whole damn career. And 3-point percentage on way more volume than Jason Kidd ever had throughout his whole career. And percentage for the most part, damn near. What the fuck? I can't believe he did that. I can't believe Chill is saying this shit. What the fuck is he talking about? Wow. Wow. That's nuts to me. That is nuts. That's crazy that Chill said that shit. That's crazy. My God. My God, my God. But let's move on out of the basketball talk. That's enough hoop talk with Chilltown because, my God, I'm about to have a fucking aneurysm if I keep going with this shit. That's a fact, Lil Trady. Jason Kidd wasn't shooting his team out of games because he wasn't shooting shit. That's why. That's why he can get that dumbass take off, chill. Because that was crazy. That was crazy, nigga. Actually, real quick, before we go, I do want to not go, but before we move on out of the basketball talk, I did want to pull up one thing that I wanted to talk about from Player's Choice also. I thought this was a really nice, really interesting convo to have. Who's been the best player of the 2020 so far, Giannis or SGA? It's really tough, right? Because if you go back to the 2020 season, I believe that was the bubble year. Giannis had one MVP. He had won his Defensive Player of the Year. And even if you're stripping just accolades and you're just looking at individual level of play, Shea was not the player that he would later become right now in 2026, which is an MVP caliber player, now a back-to-back MVP. And Giannis' first MVP don't count. So if you want to throw accolades into it, Giannis, yes, he did win a championship. Yes, Giannis did win Finals MVP, but Shea also has that. And Shea has an MVP, additional MVP that Giannis don't got. But to even that out, Giannis made multiple all-defensive teams, and Giannis is one Defensive Player of the Year, which Shea will never win in his entire career and has not won up until this point. And if we're really just trying to make it just about what we see on the court and not just the accolades, I have to say I would still probably give it to SGA because it's tough, right? But yes, in the beginning, SGA wasn't that level of a player. But by like, oh shit, my camera moved. Fuck, give me a second, y'all. But yeah, by like, what do we say? What will I say? 2022 or 2023? I believe the 2023 season is when SGA started averaging like 30 points per game. He's been the better scorer. He's been the better offensive player over the last 3 to 4 seasons. And Giannis, he's had his playoff downfalls. SGA, sure, he wasn't making the playoffs for like a 2-year stretch. But honestly, I don't know. That's a tough one. They're almost like exact same. But the thing is, Giannis didn't make the playoffs this year. The year before, when SGA did win a championship and play really well in the playoffs, Giannis, as great as he played in that first round against Indiana, he lost in 5. They came back in multiple games. Defensively, he's really taken a step down. I'll say this. If Giannis was still playing like at that, maybe not even just the height of what he was in 2020 to start off the decade, but even if it was just a little bit lower, like maybe he's not all defensive team, but he's still a great defender that has a high impact on that side of the ball consistently. Because in flashes and spurts, he could show that, but he ain't consistent. He's not a consistent enough defender. His perimeter defense has taken a massive step back. Hell, even in that Pacers series, he was not great on the perimeter. He was constantly getting cooked by niggas that weren't even Hallie, but getting cooked on the ball by Hallie and blown right by for a game winner is already bad enough. But he was constantly getting cooked on that perimeter. And even his help defense, he's still a great help defender, a really good help defender, I'll say. But he ain't the help defender he used to be. And a lot of that is just because of the offensive load that he's had to carry over the last couple of seasons. Whether it's missing Drew Holiday, replacing that with Dame, Brook Lopez falling off, all of those things have contributed. But going forward in the decade, he has more than enough opportunity to really rectify that, because defensively he'll be playing with Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, and who knows the other pieces that they'll add going forward. But I think right now they're about even. I'll say they're about even. I don't think one really has the clear advantage over the other, because even in Shea's case, at the end of the day, he started off the decade not even being the best guard on his team. That was Chris Paul. That 2020 team in the bubble, Chris Paul was the best player on that team. Shea was like a 19 point per game scorer. Really solid starter, don't get me wrong. But it wasn't until like, because the next year, 2021, they were dog shit. And he actually had a really good season, but he only played like 30 something games. He missed games. Maybe an injury. Maybe the Thunder just trying to tank. Who knows? But then the next year, he kind of had a little bit of a down season in 2022. But then in 2023, I believe that was the year he averaged like 30. I think they were the 9th seed. They were like 40 and 42, had a good playing game the first game. And then the next game he lost. I think he didn't play that well. I think it was against the Pelicans. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then in 2024, that's when they had that great season and they won 57 games. They lost in the conference finals, but he won his first ever MVP elite score that year. I mean, he was already an elite scorer before that, but cemented that even further. And then that brings us to just this past year, winning over 60 games, first seed, back-to-back MVP, goes out in the Western Conference Finals in Game 7 against the San Antonio Spurs. And in that last 3-year stretch, what did Giannis do in 2023? Or I guess 2024, right? 3 years. 2024, they lost in the first round. Giannis didn't play. He was hurt. Very disappointing season with him and Dame. 2025, he loses in the first round. And yeah, he did play, but I mean, like I said, how much can we really weigh a 5-game sample size against the Pacers defense that really isn't all that great? Not a horrible defense, but not a great defense in comparison to Shea, who's going out there and playing the Spurs defense, playing. Well, actually, I'm not even gonna lie. Shea's defenses weren't that great either. And if you want to compare them against the Pacers, Giannis played better, but it's hard to compare that series versus Shea's series against the Pacers. You're talking about a final series that was a lot closer with teams. And on top of that, they were already kind of beat up. Both teams had gone through 3 straight series. I don't know. Still, SGA, even in that playoff run, he did face the Timberwolves. So I'll give him that. I don't know. I think they're about the same, honestly. I think they're about the same. It just depends how much you value what Giannis did earlier on in comparison to what Shea has done recently. I'll still give it to Giannis because from the beginning of the decade up until now, Giannis has been consistently an elite player. Shea, it took him a while to really get going before he could really be MVP level. So I'll give it to Giannis. But let's move over to Monday Night Raw and what I saw on Monday Night Raw. I'll be honest. I did like what I saw. I did like it. Let's start off with Becky Lynch because I think that's been the more interesting convo. So Becky Lynch returned on Raw and she confronted Liv Morgan and she cooked Liv. She baked her. And I'm not even going to lie. Becky showed Liv Morgan that there's levels to this shit. And you ain't on her level. Liv is one of the most overrated wrestlers in the internet community of wrestling fans. Because she comes out there, she says the same promos. And sure, you can have your catchphrases. You can have go-tos. Becky has her go-tos, right? Everybody's saying it. But Liv is not interesting in her go-tos all time. That shit is fucking annoying. It's lame. It's boring. It's fucking just nails on a chalkboard. Cringe. Becky came out there and put boot to ass. Becky came out there and showed her what a real star looked like. That's what she did. She went out there from the moment her music hit, the fans treated her like the superstar she is. She came out there and addressed the things that a lot of fans been saying about the fact that Liv ain't defend her title in over 100 days. After WrestleMania, you put the title on her and you have her basically be a valet. Becky Lynch pointed that out too. And Becky then used her line and weaved in the character that has been a heel over the last couple of months and now is transitioned to obviously being a babyface now. She was able to still weave in her catchphrase. Because it ain't just her saying it in that promo. Everybody's saying it about Liv Morgan. And that's one thing about WWE that's super annoying. They can acknowledge their problems on TV, but still do very little, if anything, to fix them. They're acknowledging the fact that Liv ain't defend that title, which is y'all's fault. In storyline, y'all want to put that on Liv, and I guess you could do that because she's a heel. But in reality, it's y'all fault. Just because she's a heel doesn't mean she don't have to defend her title. And this ain't the first time they've done this. They did it to Jade when she won her women's world title a couple of months ago. She ain't defend that shit one time until Jordan Grace showed up on SmackDown. And then she lost it to Rhea in her second title defense. After months of feuding with B-Fab and Michin. Ugh. And hell, they did that to Io Sky when she was the women's world champion. She barely defended that title. Actually, I don't even know if she defended that title up until Evolution, after she won it at WrestleMania, or right before WrestleMania. So WWE, just because y'all acknowledge the problem on TV, it don't do much. It just shows that you motherfuckers are self-aware. Y'all had months that y'all could have done a program with her and Lyra Valkyria. You didn't do it. You could have done a program with her and Bayley. You didn't do it. Just because Stephanie Vaquer gets hurt, don't give y'all an excuse to just put Liv on ice and then put her in the Queen of the Ring tournament. While y'all were doing that Queen of the Ring tournament, she could have been feuding with Lyra or Bayley and then had a match with them at that same pay-per-view instead of having Liv lose to Io in the finals and then having Io then pull up and lose again at SummerSlam. And granted, they did have a really good match at SummerSlam, which was shocking to me because, hey, a Liv Morgan great match is hard to come by these days. But now you got her in this promo getting torched by Becky Lynch. And then Liv, after hearing what Becky said and how she cooked her and the fans getting behind her, Liv comes up and says, why don't you go and be a mom? You're jealous of me. Oh my God, just boring, nasty, generic generic heel work that was just garbage. Flat out garbage. Truly. Not good at all. Cringe. She sounds like a high schooler. She don't got no kind of comeback. Becky sits there and buries the IC title, or the champion, I should say. She said, I ain't here for you, Raquel. I've already made that title relevant. I'm here for you, Liv. So she buries the IC champ. And I ain't even complaining about it because I got my own reservations with Raquel. But then she tells Liv, you ain't that good. You ain't been doing shit with that title. It's time for me to come and make that shit relevant the same way I make every single thing I do relevant. Every single title I have relevant. Whether it's the SmackDown Championship, the Raw Women's Championship, the Women's World Title, the Women's Championship. Becky is who she thinks she is. And Liv, you ain't. And Becky got years of cooking Liv Morgan. I'll never forget that promo that they had backstage a couple of years ago where Becky was like, you ain't never gonna hold this title. It was the Raw Women's Championship. And Liv was like, I'm pretty sure I held it last week. And Becky hit her with the line of, Liv, I got kids that are fans that come up to me and they want to hold the championship. I let them hold it. It doesn't mean they're a champion. That shit was crazy. And someone made a compilation, and I don't want to get copyrighted, but someone made a compilation of her just baking the shit out of Liv Morgan in every single promo that they have. And Liv, now that she's a heel and added a little more charisma and personality to her character, and she ain't some generic babyface on TV, it still can't help because there's levels to this shit. And it'd be one thing if she was like Io Sky or Rhea Ripley, who sure, promos ain't they strong suit, but they go out into the ring and it's real graps. They go out to the ring and they hoop. Liv Morgan ain't a hooper. She can hoop with the right opponent, but she ain't a consistent hooper. Hell, Becky Lynch was able to go out there and have a decent match and get crowd reactions behind her versus Maxine Dupree. You know how hard that is? Liv could go out there and face Maxine 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways, and they still ain't gonna care because that match ain't gonna be good at all. Hell, Becky may not be the most technically gifted wrestler in the ring. She ain't gonna go out there and be the high flyer that Io Sky is or powerhouse that Rhea Ripley is, but she can tell a story. That's what Becky is there for. She's a storyteller in that ring and out the ring. On the mic, off the mic, that's just how good she is. There's levels to this shit. And Becky put boot to ass and showed her that. And then when Liv was walking away, right, cowardly heel, whatever, she was walking away, Becky hit her with the line, girl, you ain't even the best world champion, or excuse me, my bad. She hit her with the line, girl, you ain't even the best women's champion in your own group. Hell, you ain't even the best women's champion that slept with Dominic Mysterio. Shit. That's crazy. And the wild thing is, Netflix edited that shit out on the replay. I'm glad I saw that shit. I didn't see it live. I saw it like right after it showed because I wasn't watching it live at the time. I think I was actually on stream at the time. But I saw it right after Raw had aired. But after they were able to get their hands on it and edit it, They deleted that line out the promo or muted it, whatever the fuck they did. They censored it. That's bullshit, man. Netflix is on some goofy shit. My God, man. Liv, there's levels to this shit, and you ain't on that level. It's time to get that title off of her. And then to add insult to injury, another girl who hoops better than her, Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie ain't the greatest promo in the world, and she came back and instantly, in just one night, they flipped the whole entire Raw women's division around. They give Liv 2 contenders right away. And unfortunately, Liv's probably going to still hold that title because I feel like it even ties to Rhea Ripley. I think they want to do a Liv versus Rhea match at Crown Jewel. They want to act like they have this great history. They had the historic rivalry. I feel like they almost look at Liv and Rhea like they're female John Cena and Randy Orton. The rivalry that they think is so historic and classic. But in all actuality, all they did was just have a bunch of matches together. Me and you can have 1,000 matches together. It don't mean that shit is a classic. Like, the fuck are we talking about? Becky, shout out to you, man. You showed Liv that there's levels to this, and she ain't on yours. Plain and simple. And Stephanie, you too. I ain't gonna lie. Stephanie came out there. Shit. Fuck. Hey, man. I ain't gonna say too much. Shout out Stephanie. I'm glad to have her back. It's time for us to get the real hoopers. Because I'm tired of seeing these pretend hoopers. Liv ain't even the best wrestler in her own group. And it ain't Raquel either. They got the best wrestler in that Judgment Day group on the back burner. In Roxanne. Roxanne better than Liv. Roxanne better than Raquel. That IC title was made for someone like Roxanne. And I still think if Roxanne had won that title, right, if she had been the one to beat Sol Ruca, you still could have told the story of Raquel feeling iced out by Liv and her being insecure. Because hell, it would have even added to it the fact that this girl, Roxanne, who came from NXT, has been on the roster in less time than she has, won a singles title before she ever did. And then on top of that, Liv got to the finals of the Queen of the Ring and she didn't. And on top of that, Liv eliminated her in the Royal Rumble. They just completely ignored that. That went nowhere. Meanwhile, Raquel, right? She came out with that little barbed wire IC title. And look, I'm happy for Raquel. She's been putting in work. She has been improving. But she's still boring. She still has nothing to her character and charisma. It's so bad. And you could tell the fans can pick that shit up because online people were like, what's this barbed wire shit for? Why has she got this barbed wire on the IC title? And then people had to point out, hey, in a lot of her outfits, she's got like a barbed wire design on them. And a lot of her attire. Nigga, you know what's so wild about that? Nobody knew that shit because it ain't a part of her character for real. She has no charisma. She has no personality. It's just that simple. And at the end of the day, she ain't an in-ring hooper. She ain't. I'm sorry. She's not. But yeah, we got to go out there and watch for months her taking up Stephanie Vaquer's title reign with them feuding and having mediocre matches. And then they got to throw Nikki Bella in there. We got to go out there and watch her end the abrupt title reign of Sol Ruca. And then these reports coming out that a lot of people in the higher ups, like I'm assuming Michael Hayes or Bruce Pritchard's lame ass, is saying that they're disappointed in Sol Ruca's in-ring work. But are you impressed by Raquel's? You're impressed by Liv's? What are we talking about here? What are we talking about? That shit is lame. That shit is lame. But let's also move on to another part of Monday Night Raw that I liked. I liked Roman Reigns and LA Knight's promo. You know, I've been begging for the LA Knight push. I kind of gave up hope. And to be fair, I don't think LA Knight's going to win against Roman. But I'll say this. I'm not going to say it's 100% certainty that he doesn't win against Roman. Because Roman, I don't think is going to stay that long. They said that LA Knight and Roman is pretty much scheduled for Money in the Bank, which is in 10 weeks. So it looks like it's going to be a long build-up. And I'm not really too excited to see a 10-week build before we get to the actual match because I don't want to see LA Knight just interacting with Jacob, Jimmy, and Jay all over the place. Because let's be real here, we've seen that for so long. LA Knight pointed out in the promo, it's been 3 years ago since him and Roman had their match. It's been essentially 3 years of LA Knight feuding with the Bloodline. They feuded at Crown Jewel. They feuded at WrestleMania 41 when it was him and Jacob. Hell, even when they were tag team partners, they were still interacting with each other at WrestleMania earlier this year. And we just had LA Knight, LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, Royce Keys against the Bloodline at SummerSlam. It's just like, my God, I'm tired of seeing that interaction. I want to just see LA Knight and Roman. And to be fair, they kind of went in that direction, right? Because Roman said, hands off LA Knight, he's off limits, don't touch him. Which led to that funny backstage segment where LA Knight was sunning the shit out of Jey Uso. That was funny as hell. But in that promo, I ain't gonna lie, they both threw some zingers at each other. But Roman, I'm gonna be real, he got the better of LA Knight in that promo. Granted, LA Knight got the last word, got a couple of zingers in there. But when Roman pointed out the watch shit, he should have threw that shit up like Shador and said, this is legendary, nigga. Your shit cheap, your shit fake. Nigga said he got the Walmart watch and he called himself a megastar. And Roman's a collector of watches, so I thought that shit was funny. And speaking of Roman, that then leads into the main event where they had Jacob Fatu versus Royce Keys in the street fight. I thought they had a decent match. I think the blood at the end when he had I forgot what the Tongan death grip, right? When, they're trying to put that shit over all the time. But I thought having the blood come out of Royce Keys' mouth, at the end of that match when he had that submission applied on him, I thought that was good. That was a nice way to kind of tie in like some seriousness to the angle. I mean, you're having a street fight. It's too often that these motherfuckers will have street fights in WWE or no DQ matches and there's no blood. Like, that's insane. I mean, especially when you're trying to do like these serious angles. For example, when Kevin Owens faced Sami Zayn at the Elimination Chamber, and I get it, there was blood in the main event with Cody Rhodes, Travis Scott, John Cena, and the turn with The Rock, all of that. But at the end of the day, you trying to do a serious match. Hell, they had barbed wire in that match. Come on now. You got to have some blood sometimes. So I like that they added blood, even though it was obviously a blood capsule that he bit on. But it made Jacob Fatu look like a monster. Clearly, Royce Keys is going to be off TV for a little bit. I don't really know what's next for him. If he comes back just to go back to another feud with the Bloodline, maybe he'll come back and be another challenger for Roman Reigns. Maybe that'll lead into that. I don't know. But I don't really know how you go from getting bitched by Jacob Fatu clean. He lost clean in this match. He'll go from that to then challenging Roman in an obvious just filler match on some B pay-per-view. But still a good spot for Royce Keys, I guess, if they were to go in that direction. But the reason, though, getting back to LA Knight, and then we'll finish off the review as far as what happened after that with Rey Mysterio and Roman. But the reason why I could see LA Knight maybe winning is because Roman's going to go away probably for a little while. I don't think Roman's going to be consistently on TV over and over, every other couple weeks or whatever, up until WrestleMania, where I assume the planned match is him versus Oba. But I think there's a chance LA Knight might get a little short reign. And maybe it'll be that gap from in between Money in the Bank in October and maybe Royal Rumble. Maybe LA Knight will get a little short reign with the title. And it doesn't even have to be clean. Hell, Drew McIntyre won the WWE title off of Cody Rhodes, and it wasn't a clean finish, right? Jacob Fatu came in and got involved and basically hand gifted the title to Drew. So maybe it won't be a clean loss, but a loss is a loss and a win is a win for LA Knight. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. I could see maybe them doing that. Maybe just to shut fans up and give LA Knight that moment that he's been asking for and fans have been asking for. Because let's be real, he's not winning Money in the Bank. So just kill that shit. It'll probably be like, I could see a Trick Williams Money in the Bank win, I guess, at this point, because it seems like they're really high on him to win the briefcase. So yeah, hell, in a couple years, Ethan Page, I think, is another one that he seems like a perfect candidate for Money in the Bank, but I don't think he's going to win. But yeah, also real quick, speaking of Oba, like I mentioned earlier, Oba had a promo, and in the promo, it wasn't anything too special. I love the Agbada that he came in. For those who don't know, that's the robe that he was wearing. Really nice Nigerian tie. And I love that Oba rep his Nigerian, heritage. I love that. Unlike some motherfuckers on the roster who don't know how to represent their own culture well, but we ain't going to get into that. My point is, though, I love that Oba came out there with the nice Nigerian traditional wear. He came out there and said the future is now, and he's the future. He's going to lead the new generation. Brock is the past, yada, yada. He's the ruler, all of that. Loved it. But then the post-match, it seems like now they're going to finally start taking Braun Breaker serious because him and Oba had a stare off. And essentially, after they had the stare, Austin Theory told him to back down. Braun, when we came back from commercial break before his match with Joe Hendry, which, by the way, Joe Hendry, that motherfucker is literally made for his entrance. That's his whole thing. And we still don't get his entrances on TV. It's always hilarious to me. But Braun Breaker, when they came back from commercial, still had his eyes on Obafemi. Oba was gone. He was out the building. But he was just looking at the entrance ramp. So he was locked in. And, you know, yeah, you're right, Lil Trady. It reminds me of this Toy Story meme. WWE found their new toy at Obafemi. Braun Breaker got hurt at the worst possible time. And they basically just dropped Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker wasn't even on the SummerSlam card. It was worse enough he missed WrestleMania. And that was really about the injury. But then he loses the feud to Seth Rollins after he already lost to CM Punk for the world title. Got, I don't want to say buried at the Royal Rumble because he didn't, but it almost seems like that was a symbolic moment for Brock and Oba. The official passing of the torch of who they really value in that company as the man or the future man. And now he's out here feuding with Joe Hendry, tag team partners with Austin Theory to face Tozawa and Otis. So yeah, I like that they gave Braun Breaker kind of like that reminder and made it kayfabe now. That Braun realizes he ain't the shit no more. He ain't the shit. And then he goes backstage and he talks to Paul Heyman and says, ain't Oba your buddy? Why don't you go find him? I like that. I like that. It's bleeding a little bit of the reality of what's going on between Oba and Braun and how the company is viewing them and making a storyline. I like that. Because why shouldn't Braun Breaker in storyline and kayfabe be upset that Oba said he's the leader of the new generation? He should be pissed off about that. Now, I don't know about them doing this match so soon, but at the end of the day, it's better than what Braun's doing right now. Having matches with Joe Hendry, feuding with Tozawa, feuding with Otis, being a part basically as a third wheel to Austin Theory and Maxine Dupree's relationship on TV. One of these days, Braun should snap out of this shit and just spear the shit out of Austin Theory. Break that shit up. The vision's over, okay? It's time to break that shit up. But I like that they're going to this feud. Maybe it's a little too early and this could be a WrestleMania match one day. But let's be real. If we've all been saying that Brock's stock is low, what better way to kick that shit back up than to have him feud with the guy who's basically been a part of his stock dropping, Obafemi. That's a great match. I'd love to see it. I wouldn't mind it. And maybe they're not going to do it right away. Maybe it's just a tease for the future. This could end up being like a Royal Rumble match next year or Survivor Series or anything like that. But yeah, I love that. I love that they did that little tease and they really showed Braun Breaker's, more aggressive side, which we ain't been seeing lately. But after Raw was over and, Jacob Fatu made Royce Keys bleed to death, Rey Mysterio was in the back when Roman Reigns went behind the curtain. And it's crazy because when I watched it back, it was like blackened. They blacked the screen. But I already saw, and I don't know why they did that. Maybe the blood, I don't know. But I saw the segment on Twitter. I saw people posting it, and it was Rey Mysterio basically saying, hey, I got some things to talk about, I'm the GM of AAA. I don't know if you knew that. This nigga Roman said, I do now. That nigga is hilarious. Because in character, why would he know? That nigga obviously don't watch the show, I guess, unless it's his family. But it's now been revealed that Roman Reigns will face the winner of a tournament that they're going to be doing at AAA Worlds Collide, which obviously to counteract AEW's show in Chicago, I believe. Or maybe it's, I can't remember. But they're counteracting. They're doing head-to-head. WWE, if anything they love to do, it's fuck up what AEW got going on the best way they can. So yeah, Roman's going to face somebody from AAA. And the rumor looks like it's going to be Grande Americano, Kaiser. And I think that's an interesting program. And it's so wild because this is why I say that mask, I don't want to say it saved Kaiser's career, but in a way it did. Ludwig Kaiser, could you imagine telling someone 2 years ago that Ludwig Kaiser would get a championship match against Roman Reigns for a world title, nobody would believe you. Nobody would believe you. Hell, Ludwig's about to get a championship match against Roman before we ever get Roman versus Gunther for a championship. Think about that. That's crazy to think about. So, I would love to see it. I think Mexico is going to go crazy for Kaiser in that arena. And honestly, I think they could have a great match. And it's nice to see Roman. I've been saying Roman's got to break out of some of these basic ass feuds with the same people that he's been doing over the last couple of years. They've been running rinse, cycle, repeat. Him versus Punk and Seth. Him versus Punk. Him versus Seth. And him in the bloodline. Yada, yada. Give us something new, something fresh. Hell, even the LA Knight stuff, it ain't new. Granted, it's still something we want to see because they've been teasing it for so long. And it has been 3 years since they faced each other. And LA Knight just seems always entangled with the bloodline. But at the end of the day, I like to see Roman versus a Penta, if that's the direction they want to go in. Or Roman versus Kaiser Grande Americano. That's something I want to see. Have him do something else. Do some other side quests. So I like that, especially because they're going to do it in Mexico City. I like to see that. But Raw was good. They even had Big Cass show up, Cassidy. I don't know how I feel about that. Cass wasn't, one of my favorites when he was in WWE before. That was when he was a lot younger. I think that was like 10 years ago. People were saying they were going to bring Enzo back. I don't see the purpose in doing that. Cass is big as fuck, in better shape now versus what he was back then. He should be able to handle his own. Hell, even a Cass versus Oba match, I could see them doing that at some point. 2 giants, 2 big guys. Really nice for both of them if they were to do that. But honestly, I'll be real. I don't see Cass really going that high on the card. I didn't really watch him in the learning tree that often, honestly. Once Jericho abandoned that thing, Cass was kind of cooked and they didn't do much of anything with him. I know he's got some history on that roster. Corey Graves, probably going to have to keep those 2 separated. If you know, you know. But it seems like Cass has kind of gotten his life together after some issues that he's had in his personal life. I hope he does well, honestly. But, he had a nice moment with him and Javon. And he's a big ass motherfucker. I ain't gonna lie. He's a big dude. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. But I liked Raw. I thought Raw actually did some good things and they moved some stories forward, brought in some new ideas that I think could pay off big time in the future going forward, which is all we want. We just want better creative. We just want to have some entertaining TV, WWE. If you can give us shit like that, people are going to stop complaining. Well, not everybody, because some motherfuckers live to complain. But keep just doing your thing like you did on Raw. And hopefully SmackDown tomorrow night does the same thing. Reset some shit. And hopefully they do, because it looks like they are, right? Randy Orton's back. They're going to try to rekindle the thing with him and Cody without all TKO bullshit. Kevin Owens going to face CM Punk. That's going to seem... I'm pretty sure that has the potential to reach the heights that Drew McIntyre and CM Punk reached. That's how much chemistry I think they could have. They've only had like a couple of interactions so far, and they've all been really good, sneaky good. And you could tell they're just dropping some teases. And now it's finally going to happen. And I can't wait to see it. So that concludes the stream. I appreciate you guys for showing up, showing out. A lot of things that, we talked about today. KD, Angel Reese, Chill Towns takes. Monday Night Raw. Lil Trey said Joe Burrow convo. I've already went over my Joe Burrow take. Maybe next time. I think next time I'll probably do like a NFL prediction for my next stream. Because we don't talk about NFL too much on this channel. But trust me, we will going forward for this season. We will. But you guys stay safe and have a blessed day. This is your boy OMO signing